Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, and I'm your host, Suthar. And oh boy, do I have something truly special in store for you today, because today is actually a milestone that we've hit. It's our 100th episode, and I'm super excited. I want to do something completely different for all of you and give you a lot more value and just show you my appreciation for all you listeners out there. And so today I've decided that I wanted to explore some of the challenges that a lot of podcasters face out there that stops them from getting to this milestone, like getting to episode 100. And so, using my experience and everything that I've learned through being in this podcasting industry, I have put together the top 5 reasons, the challenges that a lot of people stop themselves getting to this milestone. And so, after collecting a lot of information, doing a lot of research, I've come up with these top 5 reasons and also come up with the solutions to actually help you solve a lot of these obstacles that stop you from getting to episode 100. And so, I'm going to be giving you examples, and there's going to be a lot of storytelling in this one because I want to give you some insight as to some of my experiences, the ups and downs that I've gone through too, because it's not been easy. I've not just woken up one day and decided that, hey, I want to do podcasts and known all about it. No, it's been a journey. And so I want to kind of explain and show you what I've been going through, how I've learned, what I've learned, so that I can pass it on over to you so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I've made. It will save you time, it will save you money, and it will help you get to your goals a lot quicker. So guys, there's going to be a lot of tips and tricks in this one. So hold on tight because there's going to be many golden nuggets coming your way. And so, as I was saying earlier, I'm going to be going through these top 5 challenges that many podcasters have. The very first challenge that a lot of podcasters have is the inconsistent release of episodes. And this is one of the top reasons why a lot of podcasters don't reach 100 episodes. You see, podcasting requires a lot of dedication, discipline, and maintaining a regular schedule. This is absolutely crucial, especially for your listeners. Listeners expect to hear consistent, reliable, regular content from you, especially if they're really learning, getting a lot of value from you. And so, if it becomes irregular and they don't get the content that they're looking for, it may mean that they're going to go start listening to another podcast elsewhere. And that's something that you don't want. If you've got those listeners listening to your episodes, loving the content, you want them to keep coming back. And so this is why consistency and making sure that you schedule out your episodes and that they're released on a timely manner, enough for your listeners to consume that content, is super crucial. And so, one of the main questions I get asked all the time from my clients and anyone else that I really meet that want to talk about podcasting is, how often should you release an episode? And so I always say to people, when you're starting off, right, don't overwhelm yourself, don't take on too much. And really, you want to have at least one episode being released each week, right? And if in time, you decide that you want to do it on a daily basis or have 2 or 3 releases in a week, then fair enough. But when you're first getting started and you're just finding your feet and getting into this routine, or you're just, finding a routine to get into, then it's easy just to make things simple. It's easy just to make things simple for yourself. And so having an episode released once a week is sufficient. A lot of people decide that they want to do bi-weekly or that they want to do it once a month. The thing is, yeah, you can do that. And there's podcasters out there that do have bi-weekly or monthly episodes. But like I was saying previously, if you don't have regular, consistent episodes coming out, then they may start losing interest. And because you want them coming back again and again, this is the reason why I say you need to have a minimum of 1 episode being released every single week so you don't lose those listeners that you've originally gained. And to help you keep on top of things, It's also easier if you actually record batch episodes, right? So if you record at least 10 episodes already scheduled out, it means you're not going to be running around trying to, tear your hair out and thinking, oh my goodness, I need to record an episode ASAP because it needs to be released in like 2 or 3 days, right? You don't want to go through that trauma every single week, right? It's not needed. And so just batch recording episodes and putting them together and having 10 already done means you've already got one episode for 10 weeks in advance, right? So it will actually help you take back time and focus on maybe another project that you're looking to work on in your business, or do something else, or speak or travel. And also, life is life. We're human beings. We like to think that we can keep going on and on and on and on, but sometimes we do get sick, right? It happens. We might catch a cold. We're not feeling very well. And so we have to take time out for ourselves and just recover. And so for that reason, that's why I say if you have them batch recorded and you do fall sick or something happens, you're not going to be stressing out and be like, oh my goodness, I won't be able to record or have an episode released next week because something has happened, right? Life is life. And so always batch record. The other question I get asked around this is, should I do live episodes? And again, yeah, there are many people that do live episodes. If this is what you decide to do, understand this is a massive commitment. Why? Because you got to make sure that you show up every single week on the same day at the same time and you're live streaming, which means you've not got much room to maneuver. Or again, if something comes up, you still got to make sure you're going to be there on a live stream and giving value. Again, if you're first starting out, I wouldn't suggest taking this route. A lot of people that do live streams also have a team, right? They have a team to make sure that they are being consistent and actually making sure that they're getting all the tech done and everything is up and running. And so recording episodes is the easiest way to make sure you're getting the content out there, to make sure that you stay consistent, and to make sure that you're getting everything scheduled out and that you have time to actually do other things. Ultimately, consistency helps build trust and helps you retain those listeners. The next question that people ask me or people struggle with is the lack of engaging content. Oh my goodness, guys, that this is so important. It's the lifeblood of having a successful podcast. You got to be able to produce successful, interesting, valuable content for your listeners. But many podcasters struggle with keeping up with consistently producing engaging content that keep the audience coming back for more every single week. Because I can tell you guys, if you don't keep creating captivating, engaging content, then it's going to be extremely hard to keep retaining those listeners and wanting to keep coming back. And they most definitely will not be hanging around until episode 100 if it doesn't grab their attention. And there are a few ways that you can actually resolve this and make sure you have them coming back time and time again. You can bring guests on and interview other experts around in your niche, right? This doesn't actually take away from your expertise. It actually builds your influence. It shows that you've built relationships in other areas of business industry, that you know other experts and that you're willing to bring them on. It will boost your influence, it will boost your ratings, and it will definitely boost your listeners. And it will definitely boost the number of listeners that you have and have them coming back every single time. And why is that? Well, because when you're having a conversation with somebody else, it brings in camaraderie, humor, thought-provoking discussions are something that people are always intrigued about, because different, perspectives and value and golden nuggets are brought up all the time in conversation. And so it gives your listeners an insight. They absolutely love it. And they're going to want to listen to more of these episodes. So make sure that, and when you have a guest coming on board and you're recording this episode, it doesn't have to be very long. Again, another question I get asked is, how long should these episodes be? Well, if you bring a guest along, it doesn't have to be any longer than 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, not very long at all, because at the same time, you're going to make sure that it doesn't go on for hours on end, because that's also going to be very, very hard for you to retain those listeners. People want to get quick golden nuggets that they can implement straight away, that they feel that is interesting, that is valuable. And so making it 20 to 30 minutes for a guest podcast episode is more than enough. I mean, if it goes slightly over just because you're in this conversation, you got the swing of it and there's more content coming through, then by all means, you can go on a little longer. But if it's an hour, 2 hours, or more than 2 hours, I know there's some podcasters that do over 2 hours per an episode. That is way too long, in my opinion. Keep it to 20 to 30 minutes longer, and then you'll retain a lot more of your listeners because they're quick, they're snappy, and they're getting what they want. You can also do solo episodes. That's you, the host, where you're getting up there and giving content, giving value, giving solutions to any problems. Well, something similar to what I'm doing right now. You could totally do that as long as you plan out what topics you want to talk about. And again, people say to me, well, if I'm doing a solo, am I meant to do it for 20 to 30 minutes as well? Not necessarily. If you're doing a solo episode, they can be anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes long, right? They can be a lot shorter. But whatever it is, make sure that when you are talking, when you're giving information that is valuable information, this is what people are going to be holding on to, is the value of it. Can they implement it? Does it make sense to them, right? Is it a problem that they're having? And once you get to the bottom of giving them that solution and knowing who your target market is and understanding what their frustrations are, their challenges, their obstacles, what are the things that they are struggling with right now that you can bring a solution to, again, they're going to keep coming back because you're answering and giving them all the answers to a lot of things that they're not sure about. They don't know, because you just don't know what you don't know. So they're coming to you as the expert to find these solutions. So give it to them and be sure that they're going to be coming back for more and more of this because they know that you've got the answers that they don't. Or what you could do is do a mixture of both. You could have some where you bring guests on some of these episodes, and some of them you could do it yourself and do solo episodes. Now, I myself do a lot of guest interviews, right? Just because I enjoy them. That's the way I've planned out my podcast. And I do these solo episodes on special occasions like today, right? Because I find that it also gets people coming back. People like hearing from different experts. And I don't know everything. I'm not going to pretend that I do know everything. I like to stick to my own lane. However, there's other services, products out there that complement what I do, but I'm not expert around them. And so I bring experts in to actually go in a lot more deep and explain and go and talk about some of the strategies that can be put in place that will help my listeners. Plus, when I do a special episode like this on my own, my listeners already know that there's going to be highlights. There's something going on. There's a launch. There's something new. There's something that I'm bringing to the listeners, which is why I am doing this episode on my own. Right? And so it gets them intrigued, it gets them interested, and they're wondering already, why is she doing this episode on her own? What's going on? What have we missed out? And it keeps them on the edge of their seat. And that's why I do them on special occasions. But you can alternate your episodes. So you can have 1 week where you do guest interview, the following week you do solo, then you do guest, solo, and so forth. Right? It's completely up to you on how you plan it out. The third challenge that a lot of people have is the poor audio quality. Now, there's two parts to this point 3. The first one is poor audio quality. Having poor audio quality will actually distract your listeners and it will push them away. They're not going to want to come back and listen to the episode. They probably won't even listen to a full episode if the audio isn't there. And so it's going to completely put them off. It actually creates a negative listening experience, causing listeners to abandon the podcast before it even gets to episode 100. which then leaves podcasters demotivated and they stop. They stop producing content and doing episodes because they can't see any progress, right? And it's a simple thing as making sure that your audio quality is on point and this is something that your listeners are enjoying listening to. So invest in good microphone, editing equipment, soundproofing if it's necessary. Take the time to learn about the audio production side of things to enhance your podcast sound. And if it's something that you're not sure about, remember, I am a coach. I coach my clients and several others on tips and tricks around everything podcasting that they can implement straight away, right? Pretty simple. It's easy. I like to keep things very simple and easy and not complicate anything. So you can go ahead and start creating awesome audio content. And remember, having great audio doesn't mean it has to be expensive. And if you're not familiar with editing or you just don't have the time to do it yourself, remember, this is a service that we actually provide to our clients. And so why not outsource? Why not let someone else do it? So all you have to do is produce the content, get the recording done, send it to us, and we can do the entire editing for you, which means we're going to make sure that your audio is on point. If you want to learn more about some of the equipment that maybe you need for your podcast, then I've put a list in the show notes, so make sure you scroll down and go check them out, and links will be added to that as well. That what you find in the show notes, the list of the equipment will be all that you need for your podcast. Right, so I did say that there is a part 2 to this point, and that's video quality. And you're probably thinking, video? Podcast is just audio. No, guys. Podcast is video and audio these days. It's not just audio. And the reason for that, and I'm going to go more in depth in the next point, but it's so that you can easily repurpose. Remember, you're getting into a podcast because you're a business owner. You've got a product to sell, you've got a service, or there's something you want to bring awareness to. And so the best way to build that know, like, and trust from your listeners and then turn them into buyers is for them to see you, right? To see your face so they can get to know you. You are the brand of your business. And so having your voice there is great. They can hear your content, but they will get so much more from you by seeing you on screen. And the more they see you, the faster it is to build that know, like, and trust. And the faster you'll be able to build those raving fans wanting to know more about what you do and have them coming to you and saying, hey, I need your help. So don't hide away from the camera. Step in front of the camera because you're going to find results so much better for your business. But when you get in front of a camera, you're going to make sure that your background looks good, your lighting is on point, and so the screen is clear. They can actually see you. And you definitely want to make sure that you don't have a mess behind you or a pile of laundry, because that does give a negative impression about you. And if you don't have a background that you want to put up with, a virtual background, yeah, you can buy a screen, right? A room divider and put behind you that hides everything that's behind you, right? That way you still look like a professional. They don't see the mess behind and you can give valuable content. They'll be able to see you, hear you, and still be seen as an expert. Point 4 is a lot of podcasters don't actually promote and market as much as they should do. And again, this actually stops listeners coming back because if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. With so many podcasts now available, it is so important that you promote and market your podcast, every single one of your episodes, to make sure you stand out from the crowd. Many podcasters fail to get to episode 100 because they're not actively marketing or promoting their podcast, which means they're not retaining the listeners that they did get, and they're definitely not attracting any new listeners. What you should be doing is developing a marketing strategy that includes using social media platforms. This is the precise reason why I say if you're going to be doing a podcast, make sure it's a video podcast because you can leverage it so much more with promoting and marketing your episodes and your podcast through video. And they don't have to be the full episode, it's just snippets. You can do caption videos, snippets, clips of the videos from your podcast and post 30 to 60 minute snippets on social media to get people interested, get them intrigued, wanting to listen to the full episode. You can also then create audiograms and quote cards and take parts of the content from your entire episode and make little clippets to then promote on social media. You can then add them on shorts, on reels, on stories, right? You can be seen everywhere. You can gain so much more visibility by being able to repurpose every single one of your episodes and having them on every single one of your social media platforms, or at least the ones that you actually use and have a following, to build that engagement, to build the raving fans. Mastering the art of repurposing your content for your podcast in every episode is the key. It's the key to promotion and marketing, as well as being able to monetize your podcast, which can be done in several ways. Which is why I actually coach my clients on how to do this effectively so it doesn't take away too much of their time, but they're actually being able to leverage this at the maximum potential to make sure that they gain visibility for their podcast and for each one of their episodes. And once they're seen everywhere, this is where they'll start generating money because people will see them, people will hear them, people are going to want to know more about their business, the services, and how you can actually help them. The fifth point and the final point is burnout and the lack of persistence. Now, guys, this is a biggie. This is one of the main reasons why a lot of people don't continue with the episodes and stop building their podcast and stop building content because they're just totally burnt out and they've got no much more and they don't have any more to give and to keep producing this content. Podcasting requires dedication, passion, and persistence. Taking care of your entire podcast and the entire production, the marketing and promotion, that can take a lot out of somebody, especially because it's so repetitive. You're doing this every single week, the same thing day in, day out. And so starting from scratch and actually getting people books or even putting a plan together, create content as a solo episode, and then doing the entire production and the marketing and the promotion. And the key solution here is just to outsource. Right? You shouldn't be the one that's doing all of that. You should literally, as a business owner, be showing up, doing the content, and that's it. Right? Then you can just send us, right? You can send me and my team your entire episode. We will do the entire editing, both audio and for video. We'll make sure you sound good, you look good, create all the promotional and marketing materials, and then it can be distributed all over social media as well. Okay, so you can make it easier for yourself. Just go ahead and outsource a lot of those tasks. That's going to be one of the ways that you're going to be able to consistently make content, plan it all, and then have it released every single week consistently. And I've got to admit, you are going to have some days, just like I did, some ups and downs, where you're going to be thinking, should I even start a podcast? Is this for me? Oh my God, can I carry on? Right? All these questions will come up eventually. It's going to happen. And so when it does, I want you to kind of stop and think to yourself as to why did you decide to create and produce your own podcast to begin with? Why did you want to start it? And so one of the reasons why I decided to start a podcast was because I was having a conversation with somebody and telling her my experiences, my skills, what I've learned, and everything that's happened in a very short amount of time and what I've learned. And her response was, oh my goodness, you're like the world's best kept secret. And that took me back. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to build a business here. I'm not trying to be the world's best kept secret. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. And that's when I decided to look into podcasting and see what that's like and if it's something I want to do, and kind of started dabbling in there first. And it's brought me to where I am today, where I'm loving podcasting. It's building relationships, I'm networking, all from the comfort of my own home, and have built a successful business. Podcasting is amazing once it's done in the right way. And yeah, once you get help, right? If you have a team already to help you, then fantastic. If you don't, then build a team, outsource the task to somebody else, because having your own podcast, not only does it help you build your own brand, your own authority, and be seen as an expert, but it makes business a lot easier because you're going to be able to get so much more content out. There's so much more visibility by just doing one strategy, and that's just podcasting. When I first got into podcasting, I knew it was a lot of work and it was not something that I wanted to do. And I was like, I don't want to have to keep doing this, because you don't end up having a life in the end, right? There's so much that goes into podcasts. And so that's when I decided to build a team, and then hire individuals to do certain tasks. And it just grew and grew and grew from there. And this is why I'm now able to help you do the same. Right, me and my team are experts in this. We know how it's done, and we work like a conveyor belt. Right, it's amazing. They do it for me, and now we're here to do it for you, so you don't have to. Let's help you take back time, but produce content, valuable content, consistent content for all your listeners out there, because they're the ones that need to hear from you. And so that's all 5 points, the 5 challenges that people have come to me with, and the solutions on how you can actually overcome them. But before we come to the end of this episode, I do have to say a few thank yous to a few people who have helped me get here. I've not done it on my own, guys, right? It's impossible to build a successful business on your own. I've had so much support from different people all around me. And so firstly, I need to say thank you to my team who do the entire production, not just for me, but for my clients too. But without them, I wouldn't have been able to get to episode 100. And so I want to say thank you to them for all their support, their guidance, everything. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for helping all of us get to this milestone. I also want to say thank you to my mentors and coaches, Timothy Johnson and Casey Eberhardt, who have pushed me to get to where I am today, and for me to keep going, to stay consistent, and to just be persistent in what I want to do. They had so much faith in me. They could see that this is what I needed to be doing, and absolutely guided me and supported me all the way through. Timothy Johnson, he is amazing, especially when it comes to mindset and making sure that, he kind of kicked me up the ass when I needed to. Timothy was actually on this podcast. I had to bring him on because of his story, where he had been and where he is at today. I mean, he makes multi-million dollars from his businesses, but it didn't all start off like that. And in fact, his story, you have to go and listen to that episode 75, where his dad was actually executed on national TV, and he saw his dad being executed. Oh my goodness, guys, this is just a snippet of what he actually went through when he was young. He was 6 years old at that time. Go and listen to that episode, because there's so many golden nuggets for you to learn there. And just because of what your childhood was like or what you went through, bad experiences, doesn't mean that's where you need to end up. Right, so go and check it out. And Casey Eberhardt, oh my goodness, he has an amazing mind. Like, he just keeps on going. He does several things. Again, he's a multimillionaire. But the way he teaches his students, his mentees, his clients, he just finds a way of making it easy, just simplifying it all, right? And putting it all together. And he's a visionary. Like, he can see where you should be at, what you need to be doing. He can see like the 10 steps ahead that most of us can't see, and has a completely different perspective. He's an amazing person. Again, I had to have him on the podcast. His episode is episode 78. Make sure you go and check it out, because when he was younger, his grandfather taught him a valuable lesson that he still implements in his business today. This is something that's got him so far in business, why he has several investments, several businesses, done so much. I mean, he also met and used to work with Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, how amazing is that, right? He knows people from all walks of life and has completely changed his world around too. So Casey Eberhardt, episode 78, go and check it out. And I've got to say a big thank you to both of them. The other two very special people in my lives is my mum and my brother. I mean, they have supported me. They've cooked for me when I've been in the middle of doing a bunch of podcast recordings and I've not had the time. They've fed me. They have made sure that I've been watered. And it's really funny because in the beginning, my mum really didn't know what a podcast was, right? And now she's a pro too. And she likes every single one of my marketing and promotionals that I put on socials. So thank you, Mum. And I have to say a huge thank you to every single one of my guests that have come onto this show, because this show wouldn't have got to where it was without all of you guys, and giving so much value and content and being completely vulnerable and sharing your stories so that everyone can learn from them. And I've built so many relationships and built a bigger network through having guests on my podcast, through podcasting. Like, it's been an amazing experience to meet every single one of you, and I've made so many friendships. A lot of you have come down to the UK. We've met in person, and I am so looking forward to meeting new people and building those relationships even further and deeper as we all continue down this journey. And last but not least, I have to say a huge thank you to every single one of my listeners, right, who have supported me every single week, coming back, listening to content, reaching out to me, letting me know what other information you want me to put out there, what your struggles are, what your challenges are, so I can produce the content and give you a solution to whatever you're going through in your podcasting journey. So a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't have made it this far without you guys. And so I am so privileged and so grateful for every single one of you. So thank you once again. Be sure to tune in next week. Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.